Greetings, Koli Aziza here. Welcome to the Mariama Learning Channel. We're so glad that you're here. If you saw our first video, which we're so excited about, we're so glad that you came back. And if this is your first time, well, again, my name is Koli Aziza, and welcome to Mariama Learning, where we support early learners' needs. Again, if you haven't met me, I am an early child educator, and I've been doing this for 30 years. And I decided that I wanted to create a channel where we support families and early learners. We are starting off focusing on fine motor skills. And I think that it is so important because fine motor, really, we need that for everyday activities. And we also really need it for writing. And our children can become so frustrated with writing, especially if they haven't had those prerequisite writing skills. And so that's the reason why I really focused on just kind of building activities that could help build and strengthen those fine muscle skills in the first video. But I wanted to make them fun because I think sometimes we really stress children out. And childhood is all about having fun, right? And so we really want to make sure that our activities are appropriate for our children's age and just fun. And we want to get them into it without them knowing what it is that they're doing. They think they're having fun, but we're having them really work on a specific skill. So today our focus is on beginning writing and writing your name. Now, one of the things as a pre-K teacher that I found I thought, before you leave here, I really would like you to write your name. I feel like that's very important because it's your name. And I want you to be proud of yourself and proud of your name. And so I'd like to focus on that and have every child hopefully write their name before they leave our class. And I would say most of the time I can't say 100%, but most of my students knew how to write their name before they left pre-K. And of course, many of my students knew how to write. They began writing. And so I want to first talk about that ability to hold the pencil and hold the crayon. And I mentioned in the last video, in the description box, I included a resource by occupational therapists. Occupational therapists would come into our rooms and work with us with children who needed that extra support in fine motor. And one of the very important things that they taught me was to give the child a smaller crayon or smaller pencil, I should say shorter actually, than I think maybe what we've been told, because I know when I first started teaching many moons ago, they had these fat crayons and these fat pencils, and our students would struggle with that. And so what our occupational therapists started showing us is that if a child is holding a crayon like this, which you're going to find children will hold this because they're growing and they haven't developed that grasp yet. But by the time they're 4 years old, turning 5, we shouldn't really see this anymore. And if we are, then they need a little support. And so what they showed us is to just break the crayon in half, and you see how small it is now, and then the child, it's kind of difficult for them to hold it like this. Now, a person may say, well, what's the big deal about holding the crayon like this versus this? Well, it's kind of hard to write this way. And also when I'm holding like this, I feel a lot of tension in my wrist and in my hand versus when I hold it like this. So this sort of encourages the child because it's very difficult to hold this small crayon like that. And children just sort of adapt to hold it like this. And that helps them develop that more mature pincer grasp. So you can just break the crayon in half, and you can do the same thing with a pencil. One of the things that I would encourage if you do break the pencil in half is to put some tape on the end because it's kind of sharp on the end when you break it, or get an eraser and put it on the end. But these little pencils are everywhere. You can find them at miniature golf places, but you can also find them at places where people play the lotto. So 7-Eleven and other places you can find them. And just ask the folks, can I have 2 or 3 of these, and take them home? And they work really well for our child that may be holding their pencil like this. It's kind of difficult to write with it like this. They tend to sort of adapt and hold the pencil like this. So that's some tips on how to help your child develop a more mature grasp. Just get the smaller pencil, break the crayons. We had tubs of broken crayons in my class, and then, of course, we went and got those pencils. Next, we're going to focus on visual tracking. All right, so remember in our last video, we started talking about visual tracking when we were talking about being in the tub and having your child in their water play, pouring from one cup to the next or one container to the next, and how they were holding, so they were working on their fine muscle there, but they were also pouring, having to make sure that the water was going from one container to the next, so they had to visually track. Well, you need that visual tracking skill as well as the fine motor. You need to be able to combine those together when you're writing. So I wanted to mention the pouring again. The same thing you're doing when you're playing catch. So you can go outside, get a nice sized ball, medium-sized ball with your child, and you can play catch. And that is also visual tracking because you're throwing the ball, you're using those hands, but your child also has to track for that ball to make sure that they catch it, to watch it, to catch it, okay? And then also another one that I really like is using tape, colored tape. And we used to use this in the classroom a lot to help the children know where to stand online. So that is like visual tracking there as well, or to even know where to go in the classroom. You can use, we use these. So they'd know where to go in the classroom, how to get around the room, how to get to center. So you can use this. But at home, you can use this. You can just have them track walking on a path with this tape. Or even more fun, you can have them use their dolls. They can be on the catwalk, acting like models, walking on the tape. That's right. And for our boys and for our girls who love vehicles, they could use this as their roadway. And you can make a whole roadway going in different directions on the tape. So that is all visual tracking. And actually now I wanted to move into letters with visual tracking, because I see when we're teaching letters, I have letters right here. I see when we're teaching letters, sometimes teachers will say, let's say here, I'm going to write it down. Let's say we're going to work on finding capital A. And I always like to have a little person here that I draw so the children know where to start. And I got that idea from a program that we used to use when I first came, actually, when I first started teaching, called Primary Project. They always had a starting point for the children so they knew where to start. Now, what I find is that teachers sometimes will say, all right, look for the A, but they don't give the children a strategy. The children don't know where to start. Okay, look for the A, all right, but maybe I don't know where to start. I may see an A here, okay, I may see an A, but someone else may not see an A, and they need a strategy so they can visually track. So I may say, let's get that person We're going to make her a little girl. Let's give that person, what's her name? Okay, let's call her Tina. Tina's going to walk down the line. She's going to walk down Alphabet Lane, and she's going to find letter A. Let's go. Tina's walking. Tina's walking. Uh-oh, did she find the letter A? She sure did, and she continues to walk. Is that an A? No, she didn't find the A. Is that an A that she found? No, she's walking, but she didn't find it. Uh-oh, here's another A. So I love this strategy for visually tracking because it gives your child, one, a strategy, and also helps them to visually track, and also they're writing at the same time. It was pre-writing, going from left to right. We write from left to right. We read from left to right. So I love that strategy. And we can also make a little train here. I love to make a train. And instead of walking, you can say you're on the alphabet train and you're going to find your letter A. So then we go choo choo. We start right there on the alphabet train. Is that an A? No, we keep on going. Is that an A? No, we keep on going. Is that an A? No. Uh-oh, we found an A. Choo choo. And we stop. When we stop, we usually make an X. I didn't make it there. We usually make an X so we know to stop. So again, this is a great strategy. It really helps children. After a while, they won't have to do it because they'll know to visually track with their eyes and their fingers. They won't need to do this, but this is a great way to start them visually tracking. Love this strategy. And the next thing we're going to focus on is using highlighters versus broken lines when writing your letters. I believe there was something else I wanted to say here. Oh, yes. I wanted to talk about using the dry erase board. Love using dry erase because you can, they usually come with an eraser, and you can just erase it like this when you are done. Love it. And then you can start all over again if you need to. If for some reason I got this at the dollar store, so it was only $1. If you want to invest in something bigger and better, that's fine. But you don't have to spend a lot of money because I got this at the dollar store. You can also just get paper, use paper and laminate paper and use dry erase markers. And that way you can use things over and over again. All right, we're going to talk about using a highlighter versus broken lines when making letters or numbers or shapes. That's what's next. One of the other things that I learned, because I learned a lot from them, that I learned from occupational therapists is to not use the broken line when you're teaching children how to write letters. Now, there are some children that will just take off and start writing right away, and they won't need any support with writing letters, but there are children that do. And so we have them trace. And again, the tracing is a visual tracking skill. And so when you have these broken lines, a visual motor skill, when you have them tracking these lines, it can be difficult, especially for someone who really does not understand the form. They don't understand the formation of the letter. So they're not really understanding how to make this A at all. And then on top of that, you're going to give me a broken line. Now, if someone understands it, then and is able to visualize it, I guess making the broken line might work for them. But we want to make sure that we give our children all of the support that they need. So instead of giving them that broken line, we'd like to give them just a solid line. It's simple. It's an easy fix. Give them a solid line so they can really see that A, and then give them some extra visuals to help them figure out where to go. So I put an X on the top here so they know to start at the top. They're going down to that dot. They're going back up to the X. Sometimes I even put arrows so they know, where to go. But I also give them verbal verbal cues as they're doing it. And then they can go down to that dot and then the arrows there so they know to go across. But so I give them that extra stuff too, the extra visual cues, so they know actually where they're going, what direction they're going in. But the main thing I wanted to talk about, because I still see folks doing it, is giving them that solid line to trace versus that broken line, because it can become very difficult for someone who really is just learning. You want to give them as much support as possible. You can use a yellow highlighter, a pink highlighter. Children find this much more difficult. Again, we don't want to stress them out. Writing for many children becomes very stressful, so we want to give them as much support as possible. Before we even get to the letters, if we see someone needs support, we probably want to start off with shapes. So again, I have the solid line there with the highlighter. I'm showing the children where to start with the circle, and they're going around, and then straight line, starting at the X here and going down, boop, stopping at the point there. Again, you want to give them the visual cues, and you can even give them auditory cues as well. So you heard me, we started at the X there, and then we went down and we stopped, boop, at the dot. All right. Now, also, again, I'm showing you my name, Aziza, and I actually did that again in that solid line and not the broken line. And I started off with the little person here, so we knew where to start with the arrow. And I had my X here, and I have my dots there. Again, the X to start, the dot to stop, and we go through the name. So that's just an example of using the highlighter with the solid line instead of the broken line. And that was actually our occupational therapists that reminded us to support our children as much as possible and do that. So if you watch this and you're still doing the broken line, and especially if your child's having difficulty, you want to give them that solid line. For our children that are, easy breezy, they got it, then they don't need as much support. Remember, we want to meet our children where they're at. The next thing I want to show you is how to help your child put their name or write their name from left to right, and help them get like a good formation for their letters in their name or in words. But again, this is focusing on the name because I like them to have that name before they leave pre-K. All right, so we're talking about writing names, and we have children that can actually form the letters in their name, but they don't have a good sense of how to write their name. So I have Aziza up here. When I say that, I mean they have the letters, they know how to form the letters, but they don't know how to write from left to right in a straight line. That's a lot to have to remember. So they may write the A here, the Z here, the I here, the Z here, the A here. It's not, and sometimes not in the right order either. I actually wrote this in the right order, but they actually have the formation of the letters, but they're just writing the letters all over the page. And so I was taught by, or actually modeled what I saw some veteran teachers do. When I first started teaching, I saw that they were using this formation to help their students write their name. And so again, it's just basically making these boxes, and they are the size of the letters, and they're right next to each other, and creating that for the children so they can write their names inside each box. And they would have them do that on a daily basis. And then eventually the children just really understood and got that where their name needed to be. And it wasn't a forced thing. It was during writing time or during center time when they chose writing, they may work on this. And I find it to be an exceptional strategy that really, really works. Now, for our children that know all the letters in their name, they might not need it up top. So you can just have the boxes and say, well, write your name in those boxes. But for the children that still need to see their name, they still need that visual, you can keep that up top and then have them write their name in this. This is a strategy that works. I don't see a lot of teachers using it, which I find very interesting, but it really works, especially for our children that know how to form the letters in their name, but so they can write the letters in their name, but they're just not sure of where the letters should be, right? They're not sure of that yet. And so this really helps, this strategy. I call it configuration. So we've been working on beginning writing and writing our names, working on strategies to help our students with that. And so this is an activity that I love to do with young people. Again, it is using the clothespin. So you are working on that pinching and the pincer grasp again, opening that clothespin. But you're also working on matching the student's name, matching the student's letters in their name. So on each clothespin, I have programmed the letters. We're using Aziza, we're using my name, and we have programmed on each clothespin an A, and a Z, and an I, and a Z, and an A. And so when our children are working on recognizing and naming all the letters in their name, this is a great activity. And again, they are working on the pincer grasp. So they just match. The A goes to the A. The Z goes to the Z. The I, the Z, and the A. This also helps children who know some of the letters in their name, but they don't know all of the letters in their name, or they don't remember the sequence of the letters in their name. But they may be able to label. Everybody has different things going on. They may be able to recognize all the letters, but they may not know the sequence. So they may say, oh, Aziza, okay, A, I, A. They may not remember all the sequence, the correct sequence of their letters. So this helps a lot of skills. It supports a lot of skills for our young people. Again, I love the clothespin. I love using the clothespin because it's also helping with that pincer grasp. All right. So I just want to thank everybody. Let's review quickly. What did we start off today with? We're really focusing on beginning writing and writing our names. So we began with talking about developing that more mature grasp and how to do that by using smaller crayons and smaller pencils. And then we talked more about visual tracking. We touched on that in the first video, but I gave you more activities where you could focus on that visual tracking, which is what you really need when you're writing. And then we talked about using a highlighter versus broken lines. And then we talked about something that I have used, and it has stood the test of time for me, using these boxes or configurations to help our children write their names. And then the last activity that I showed you was using the clothespins to match each letter to a name. And this also helps children remember the sequence of the letters in their names. All right. Thank you so much for stopping by Mariama Learning. Again, my name is Koli Aziza. This is really exciting. I hope that you are able to use these activities at home. I hope they're fun for your child, and I hope they get really excited about pre-writing and then writing, because again, writing can be so frustrating for our children. And that is the reason why I really wanted to start focusing my first 2 videos. I really wanted it to be about fine motor and the prerequisite skills that you need to write, because writing is so important. And I wanted to provide that resource for you. So come again to Mariama Learning. Again, I'm Koli Aziza. Thank you so much.